Welcome in, everyone. This is our flow recap for the week of 7/14 to 7/18. Little quieter week with flow this week. We have earnings season coming up, so a lot of flows overlapping earnings, so being very selective with the flow that's put out as well. As always, we're going to look at the full move of the contracts, kind of look at the option flow, what stuck out, all that fun stuff. So, and for anybody that's new to joining, I would like to show everybody that, again, everything is posted in real time. I don't edit my posts. I recap everything I post. I don't just cherry pick winners. We recap everything in our recapable area. I do have some areas that aren't recapped, but I do recap everything in the recapable areas. So let's get started here. So we're starting with 7/14 here, and some of these I'm going to kind of just briefly touch on, but a lot of short-term expiration this week too as well. So first up, the 7/25 TLT 86 calls. Let's go back here to Monday and take a peek at these. So here's our flow, how it came in. Again, you can see it's a clean opening trade just based off that volume to open interest. And when we look at that raw flow here as well, let me pop the results down here so we can see that full flow feed there. So again, textbook flow. It's not going to work every time. It's not a science where it's going to 100% work, so you have to have risk management, all that fun stuff. So again, looking at this does read as a buy. Or IV is, keep an eye on IV in that spot price. Your bid, ask, spot, IV are your three main things you're looking at here. So keeping an eye here. We have all of our spots coming in with ask. Spot is just what the contract is being filled at. So just following here, you can see that spot increasing, IV increasing. Just following this all the way up. Again, another spike in the IV. Spot price increases. And you can see a small little drop here in the IV, but we're still coming in here pretty much at the ask. And when we pop this out, I'm going to pop this out to Friday. So 7. So this whale actually ended up cutting these at 48 cents per contract here on the 15th. So that whale cut these ones for a loss, for a 39.24% loss. And again, not all the flow is going to work. These people are actually real people. They're not just imaginary people that are putting down trades. Real people, real trades. Not everybody's going to get it right 100% of the time, but this is how it goes with the game. There will be winners. There will be losers. Again, I don't cherry pick just the winners. So that was our loser so far for the week. So let's move on here. So EQT, this was a really good one. Here's our flow back on the 14th. And I want to pop that net call premium out here as well. We'll actually pop this back to the 14th, make it a little easier. So again, you could see when this, let's pop this here. So flow coming in here at about 9:05 on Central Time. You can see we had a good little rise in that net call premium at the time. Let's see if this adjusts a little bit. Yeah, sometimes when it's a little back, it sometimes will be a little funky, but here's our flow. This was a very good example here. So when we pop this out here, and this is why it's always important to read that full flow feed as well. So here we go where our flow starts coming in. You can see the repeated hits. This is just a flow alert. And you notice the time's always the same. So spike in that IV. Keeping an eye on that spot price. And you notice that bid ask is a little wider here. And you're coming in at the ask. So this is showing aggression essentially. So just following this up, you see it's just staying at the ask side here. And then you see another spike in that IV as well here. And you can see now we're coming in above the ask a little bit here. So that's really interesting to me because you're getting size and premium above the ask. And then at the end here, so you have some bid side coming in here. So there's always a misconception that everything ask side is a buy and everything bid side is a sell. That is not true. So, and this is a good example here. This is why you have to look at the flow feed. When that big size and premium came in, this is at the essentially the bid because you're kind of, the bid ask is a little wider, but you're kind of pretty much timed up with that other flow. So you look at this, you can see that IV spike again as well. So again, a good sign that this is a buy. This would read it as a buy. And when we pop this out to Friday, and we're just going to look at the full range of the move. So here is our flow, kind of choppy throughout the day here, and then choppy into the next day, and then we really took off here on the 16th. So these hitting a high of 290 here on the 16th. So from that 171 to 290, that's a 69.59% move on those. Looks like maybe some contracts passed off here on the 16th. We got a lot of volume, but not a big change in the open interest or anything. So a lot of contracts kind of changing hands in there. But these running for that 171 to 290, 69.59% there. Up next, we have the 718 coin 370 puts. Again, these coming in on the 14th. So let's go back to the 14th and look at our flow. So this one's a really interesting one. Here's our original whale entry. Let's take a peek at this. So you can see all of our volume kind of coming in here at once. You can see a big spike in that IV. Flow coming in at the ask. And it looks like, so coming back to the 14th, you can see we had a lot of volume here on the day. And when we look at this, we had about 2,000 contracts there, 2,000 contracts there. So a lot of volume, not much carrying over into the next day. So we know contracts did not carry over. So this whale entered these at 311. They actually ran up to 384 and then dropped back down to 275. And it looks like that whale may have took or cut their trade there. So, but this trade did make a really nice move up. So again, here was our entry, 310. Here was that exit. And this flow actually made a good move here and hit 590. Actually, 715. Looks like we had a high of 1025. So that's a 230.65%. So that whale did miss out on profits on that one. But that would be a winner in our book still. So good move on those. Z, the 718 82 calls, who's expired today. This one, let's go back to the 14th. So good little move here right away. So 28. When we look at the flow here again, always looking at that raw flow. Here you are, that spike in that IV. Small little drop in that IV here, but then we have a big spike here when that floor trade came in. And you're coming in above the ask as well with size and good premium. And you can see these actually made a quick intraday move here from that 28 all the way up to 34 there. But when we pop this out to the 18th, to today, let's see if I can actually, I'm going to pop this out because that whale looks like they cut that next day. So here's that entry. Looks like they opened up again about that 34, but these did have a high of 37 here on the 15th. That spread was a little wider at open. Looks like all that volume kind of came off at about 17, so sometimes the whales don't take profits. You never know what they're doing fully, but for us, these would have made a move from that 28 all the way up to 34, actually 37. So you would have had plenty of time to get some profits there. So that's a 32.14% gain, 28 to 37. So good move on those. So up next, the Zoom. This was posted on X as well. So let's go to the 15th here. So here's our flow. Again, you see that net call premium picking up. Let's look at our raw flow. So again, we don't really have a big repeated hits or anything around this. So this is kind of where reading flow comes in handy. And you can see, here's our size, here's our premium. Big spike in the IV. Flow coming in above the ask. This reads as a buy, of course. You have your net call premium spiking. And also even kind of going back historically, you can see a lot of net call premium over the last 3 days, so a good sign there. And these did make a move into the end of the day, 46. Came up and hit 66 here. But if you pop this out to Wednesday, Actually, I'll pop this out to Friday. Sorry about that. So again, here's your flow. It ran up here 63. These actually had a high of 71 here on the 16th. So that next day, again, that spread was a little wider at the open. 70, so 46 to 71, that's a 54.35% gain. So good move on those. Up next, the AVGO 81290 calls. Here's our entry again on the 16th. Again, looking at that raw flow here. Come down here. I like to pop out the results so I can see all the flow around it. Again, you see right when that flow starts coming in, spike in that IV. You're coming in at the ask. Very good sign that it's a buy. IV kind of drops a little bit here, but it's not a huge chunk of it. And you still have a little more of that flow around it. Don't 100% know if it's part of the trade, but that timing's very similar here, and that IV kind of comes back up. So we can maybe take some context clues, educational guess there. And again, at the time as well, let me pop this back to the 16th to show everyone. And pop this back here. You can see we had some call premium kind of slightly there. You can see that put premium kind of selling off. So kind of some context clues there as well. So pop this out to the 18th. Let's look at that full move. So 415. Kind of choppy again throughout the day. And then we had a big spike up here on the 17th. These hitting 815 for a high. That's 89.53% on those. So 438 to 815, 89.53%. These next ones, the U10 calls. So this one is selling premium. Obviously, there's some time on here. It's not the same as buying calls or buying puts. This whale's trying to collect premium. Obviously, they have some time on here. They're not in the money at all. They're 7% out of the money still. The goal of this whale is to collect premium, so kind of hard to recap something like that. But when we look at this raw flow feed, and we come down here, so keep an eye on the IV. So this is the opposite of buying and selling, where you're looking for that IV to increase and that spot to increase. You're looking at the opposite, where you want that IV to decrease, and you can see from that 90-80, that IV dropping there, that spot decreasing there. Had a floor trade kind of come in here, but it looks like it got canceled out here, but majority of that flow stuck. You can see big chunk of that carrying over there. So some time on this one right now. This whale sitting out of the money on their call sells, so I can recap this one in the future too as well. So SPY puts, this one whale coming in here for, looks like they probably cut these about 347. Have to check that open interest on Monday, because this was today where they cut those. These closed at 367 from that 4, so that whale's down about, if they're still in, they're down about 8% on those. So that would be our other loser for the week right now. SBET, these made a nice little quick pop today. So again, looking at that flow, you see that IV spike. The IV is pretty high on this one. Bid ask is a little wide on that one, so coming in at the ask, IV spiking. Can see it's shorter term, so you'd be looking for a shorter term move. 361, we popped all the way up to 494 and just kind of slowly came down. Have to see how much of that carries over, because this was about almost 800 contracts on this. And then kind of between this, I mean, some decent size here. I have to see what happens next week and how much carries over, but could see some sizing off here. Hard to know. But those making that quick move from 360 to 550 here. Let's see, 361, 360, 494, actually 550 with that spread. So 52.78% on those. And then last but not least, our 81 AMD 150 puts. Look at our fill. Again, you're not seeing the repeated hits or anything, but you see that flow kind of coming in, some sweeps. Then you see a big size come in here at the ask, big premium, spike in that IV. Notice put premium was up, kind of call premium's dropping a little bit. These moving, kind of hitting almost the high of the day a couple times here. but looks like we're topping out at 271. So that's 208 to 271. Nice 30.29% on those. And like I said, little quieter week here. So this video a lot shorter than normal. But that is our flow recap for the week of 7/14 to 7/18. Earnings season again flows a little light. I don't just spam flow. I like to pick as many winners as possible. But that's all I got for this week. And again, everything I post is posted in Stock Hub. For those that aren't here, I have my own Discord. It's $19 a month, very affordable. And if you'd like to join, link is below. And if you'd like to try unusual whales at a discount, kind of just takes some filtering, getting used to seeing things. Very easy platform to use. That discount code is also below as well. But that is all I have. Have a great weekend, everyone.